Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Will Paterson. Today I'm going to be showing you some of my projects from the past year. So these are branding projects. One of them is a hand lettering project that I want to show you. It's going to be a good video. Watch to the end. You will learn so much about what I've done this year. It is the 2020 look back, or my rewind of client work this year. This video is brought to you by Sumo. Okay, so the first one I want to show you is a cool client project that I had to brand, which is the Apian Way. For some context, the Apian Way is a cosmetic company that's just starting out, and the word Apian means bees. So it means that the product inside it has got an inspiration to bees and the way they work, honey, stuff like that. I won't go into all the details about it, but it was a mid to high end sort of consumer targeting more towards women than towards men, but they sold cosmetics, so face creams, nail polishes, anything like that. So this is what I did, and I'm going to walk you through the process. So here is the actual presentation for mockups. This is way into the process of creating a logo for them. So you can see that we've got some bottles here, and this is how I presented it to them. We've got the logo, we've got the clinical face cream clinical moisturizer. I was inspired by this sort of minimal look from the Logo Geek. He is a legend, and I love the way that the sort of bottles and everything that I've created, like the packaging, just works seamlessly together. This one on the right I wasn't too sure of, but I wanted to make sure that the logo could be seen. And this is part of a presentation that I was doing with the client to show them the packaging of their products and how it could be seen and used. If you go here, this is one of my illustrated documents that I'll show you with the process. At the start of every process, I like to use the word that they've got the most commonality with, so the Apian, the main word, to sort of see how it would influence my decision. So I wanted to check different fonts. So we've got like Dido and different serif fonts in here that I wanted to try out. And then we've also got some icons. Now the main thing about this project was the icons. Like we needed a good logo icon that could be seen when it was small enough, that was kind of ambiguous so it didn't look like a bee. You don't want to be so obvious. And I wanted something that had a high-end flourish to it. So I started in Procreate using the mirror, the symmetry features to create these different sort of icons, I guess. And this was just me snowballing through it. Once I had the sort of general feel of what I wanted to do, I kind of like this one because it was like flowers, petals, but also had the insect vibe, but not to creep people out. It's very hard not to creep people out when designing a logo high end as an insect. So I decided to keep the icon very geometric and also very simplistic and balanced. For the logo type, I had this idea which I drew out, which was creating sort of a dysfunctional serif typeface. So we took away a lot of the different like sidebars, the serifs, and we kept the thick and thin weights in there, and we created this typeface here which says Apian, but the way that it is that it screams to be a bit high end. So we created this. I like this. This was after a few iterations, but this is the document that really speaks for itself. Obviously we wanted something on the top, but that was too ambiguous. So it looked a bit too weird to have this sort of like thing there. Didn't work out. And for icons, I was just testing out certain icons and what we could do to see if we could do it better. So I wanted to keep the actual type to be very minimal, but also scalable. So it was important that when I basically scaled it all the way down, that you could still read it, and that the actual letter forms were perfectly consistent all the way throughout, which you can see they've been kerned to heck, as some people would say. So it looks good. There's a few anchor points in there we could take off, but you can see here how it works and how I pen tooled it in. This is not a font. This icon here was just something I was playing with. I didn't like the look of it. We created more icons, but they seemed a bit strange. So I went over here, started looking at creating a crown, but that just seemed a bit too royal. Didn't want anything too royal until we got to over here. And this is where I took this shape and I started to vector it out with just basically paths. I played with the thickness and everything else, and I brought it into the logo, and it just fits like a marriage in heaven. Look at that. When it came to the color aspect of it, we wanted to show a bit of the golden look, not just specifically to be that high end, but just because it looks nice to have a bit of golden on this package. It just fit the brief so well. It sort of looks like honey in that sense, so I wanted to get the honey look in there, but keeping things really modern and minimal. So from there, this is how we got to this point here with all these different products there that look really nice. You've got like the spot reducer, and this sort of composition means that it's super easy to read, it's super clean, minimal, and I liked it a lot. The next one is Brooks Mold, which I've talked about a bit in the past, and this one was a really fun project. The idea of the company, they're wanting a rebrand of their molding business. They're not moldy, it's just a molding business. They mold things like bathroom appliances so companies can make them. So it's like molding something for a plastic use. It makes the mold of something, that's the idea. And those guys were the guys who make some of the molding, and they were wanting to rebrand what they do. So my first idea for coming into this process with this company was, one, we need something that looks highly professional, because they're not working for consumers. So they were working for other companies. So the consumer was another company, their client. So we need something that was highly professional, but again, that stood them out against their competitors, although not many. So I had this idea of like, if someone's molding something like in a square, then we wanted to create some depth in that. And we wanted to have a very geometric icon to suggest molding and something that was completely unique. So this is the first ideas that we came up with. I was looking at some of the typefaces, and we're using pop-ins here at the start, seeing what it looks like when it was uppercase and lowercase. You can see here I've got some hideous ideas there, but this is just me getting all of the hideous ideas out of the way before I move on to proper sketching. You can see some of these things here. These are like the cubes. I was trying to get that element of depth in there. And these cubes were basically me trying to show depth inside of the cubes. And they look hideous, but the idea was that there was a concept in there somewhere that I really liked. It's important for me to show the reasoning behind things in a concept. So I wanted to show them that everything is based out of a geometric shape. And I had like this cube made out. I then wanted to make sure that the logo was in a cube somehow, but didn't just conform to a cube, because that's very silly just to have that. So I started coming up with these ideas over here, and you can see which one we chose. It was this one, which is an impossible shape, which looks, the more you look at it, the more you see, but it's very unique and it works really well. This impossible shape is basically made out of just lines. You can see here the paths that I've drawn. That's all it is made out of right there. And it looks like a chair. It looks like anything that you can sit on, and it's got depth and it's an impossible shape, very unique. That's after creating these ones here, which were just like me playing around really. These ones here were to show the client that it wouldn't work in this setting. We sort of come down here to where I knew that I wanted the composition to be with a square next to it. So there was an idea there. This idea of molding was utterly bad, but I didn't want to give that in. But it was just an example of what I could or couldn't do. The idea of having two O's didn't work. It just didn't sit well with me. And this is after all of my sketching as well. Don't worry, I've got sketches of all these things, but I'll show you that in another video. So we ended up choosing this, and this was a really cool way of showing the logo just by itself right next to each other. It's so geometric, looks very good and very nice. I enjoyed the process. There was no presentations really, aside from things that I can't show you. We were presenting the concept to them through Keynote whenever we were talking with them, but very fun project. I chose this green here. I don't think they're using the green. I think they're using more of the blue. And this green was mainly there just to highlight the logo, highlight the futuristic side, creating that electric contrast between the background and the logo. I just love that green sort of lime. Obviously in different compositions as well. This is the main logo at the end of what we came up with. Nice, bright and blue. Looks very good, scalable, but also not too unprofessional, but yet very modern. Before we get into the next one, I want to thank the sponsor of this video that has made this video possible. AppSumo is a website where you can get products for cheaper, such as brand docs, deposit photos, tile, quick reviewer. All these products and softwares normally cost a lot of money when buying them yourself, but AppSumo make it so that you get a discount on those products. It's great if you're a designer for brand docs, because brand docs allows you to put all your brand assets into a website where you can send it to your client and it looks so neat and tidy. It literally creates a website for your client to pick up all their assets that they need. And it can be your guidelines for the logo design that you've created. Deposit photos is a great one as well. Royalty-free images everywhere that you could ever imagine. Not only that, they've got vectors as well if you need them for your illustrations. And also you've got Quick Reviewer, which allows you to have better collaboration and faster approvals on like videos and PDFs. So if you work in a team of people, it's amazing. If you work at home, but you're still part of a team and you need to have some collaborative efforts with your team or even your client on a video or like a piece of work that you're doing, you can do that very easily. Another great app that I've seen is Fresh Proposals, where you can create instantly amazing looking proposals, whether you're a designer and giving it to a client, or whether you're doing it for your design team to change a certain element of a design. So if you're a designer, a creative, or an entrepreneur, go ahead and click that link down below in the description of this video so you can go and check out AppSumo and some of the amazing deals that they've got for you. Okay, a little side project that I got commissioned by Adobe. This one is a very interesting one. So this here is an image of a frontliner, and by that I mean because of what's happened in the world and people had to step out and really put themselves forward to do stuff that other people wouldn't do. Paul here works at one of our local shops, a big shop, and he was the guy that sorted everyone out who was queuing outside the shop, making sure everyone was socially distant and giving a helping hand to everyone. Adobe commissioned me and a few other designers to create a poster or an image to show the honor of these heroes, to give them honor, and it was called Honor Heroes. So I decided to take a picture of this guy at the shop in the car park where we were, and then I wanted to go ahead and create some lettering on the outside, which I did in Adobe Fresco. And you can see that it looks pretty cool with, you know, very moody, but I wanted to show this guy honor. Paul is an absolute legend. So that was a bit of a different project, but that's because it was to do with the pandemic that was happening at the time, and that was just showing honor to the frontliners. The next project that I'm going to show you was one for a tutor company. So these guys are called Qualified Tutors, and what they do is in the UK, they take people who want to be tutors, like students, and they basically give their information out, make sure they're good tutors. So people who want a tutor for their child will get the best tutor. And it's a really clever company and I'm all for it. At first, the name of the company was MPQT, which was far too long. So during brand strategy sessions that we had, I managed to not convince them, but we all understood that the name QT probably meant the best. Now, the difference between this project and any other ones was not only was this a startup, but they had many sub-brands underneath them. So for instance, Qualified Tutor, we started off here with choosing different typefaces that I could work with at the start and some ideas. Now, this was supposed to be a queue and I was just figuring out what we could do. It went on and on where we were creating different ideas for these guys, making sure that we could hit the nail on the head. We found that these were probably way too ambiguous. They didn't really scream tutor to anyone, so they weren't as professional, and this is me just playing around with some flames for some reason. I had this idea of creating, you know, a gradient, but again, it was just too modern. Although this company wanted to be modern, we wanted to keep the traditional element too. So as we went along, we realized it didn't work, and it was here where I realized, stop playing around with the keyword, just, you know, be clever with what you got, the word. So we go over here and I use the word QT and I made my own typeface here. And you can see how it works. It is a Q, but with a solid bottom. Sounds strange, but instead of having the Q, the handlebar at the angle, we actually created it at the bottom here to mimic that border of the Q, and it just makes it look a lot better. I then went ahead and fiddled with the T to give more contrast when it is scaled down very much. Now, the reason for the bordering here was I knew that it needed to be to show the colors. We were going to change the color of the icon depending on the sub-brand. So for instance, Qualified Tutors, that is the Qualified Tutored part. And then you've also got Qualified Tutored Podcasts, you've got QT News, QT YouTube. So everything they had, they wanted it to be branded by them. And the QT mark, so this one is actually like a verification stamp as well. So it shows that that tutor is Qualified Tutor, is a QT tutor. So I ended up coming up here, changing the colors, and you know, these didn't really work. I did not like the idea of having, you know, example, you know, Qualified tutor course or QT example in there. It didn't make sense. It was too small. When you scaled it down, it looked awful. But the idea again was there. So I thought to myself, what is a better way of doing this? So we went for a pebble look. Now the pebble look is basically just a QT in the middle of a circle, and I used a warp feature to create these different pebbles, and for every sub brand it had a variable pebble, so it had a different pebble with a different shape, but it fit within the brand. We started playing around with colors. These were way too bright, and we started looking at different ideas to make sure I was right, and of course I was right. And this is where it sort of all came together. QT training, QT resources, QT qualified tutors, the main logo. And we also went ahead and changed some of the color schemes. I wanted to show the different colors and what they could really mean and why they shouldn't choose anything else. We ended up on this QT one here. I've just realized a lot of my logos are blue this year. That's okay. Blue logos are good. This one here though is the main logo. The font used here was Poppins again, which was a really nice logo type to use. And as we go through this, you can see that a lot of my job is basically to show the client why things don't work and why things should work. So I'm not just giving them a logo, we're actually strategizing with them about the visuals, and not only that, about their brand. So I wanted to show them why having a serif typeface probably wouldn't work, and why the best one is the one that we've chosen. And that's because obviously I'm an expert in type design, but also it's important to show clients this information so they can understand it. So guys, those are some of the pieces of work that I've done, the ones that I've been commissioned for. I've created so many that I can't show you because they're still ongoing, or they're still not ready yet, and they're still not publicized who they are and whatnot, but I'll be sure to share with you as soon as we can. If you did enjoy this video, as always, please press that red subscribe button. Around 70% of you guys watching this video or any of my other content have not yet subscribed to the channel. Well, I'm hoping today is the day that you take the plunge and hit that red subscribe button. Not only does it help me, it makes you feel good as well, because I'm going to be putting out content twice a week like we normally do, and you'll learn something new. If you have any questions about the process of these logo designs, please let me know by commenting in the comment section down below. I'll be seeing you there. And if you made it to the end of this video, please say rainbow in the comments. See you guys. Have a good one. Goodbye.